Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Second chapter, 68th shloka. Tasmad yasya mahabaho. Tasmad yasya mahabaho.
Bhavo
Nigrihtani sarvashaha.
Nigritani Sarvasha
Indriyani indriyarthebhyas.
Indriyani Indriyarthebhyas
Tasya prajna pratishtita.
Tasya Prajna Pratishtita.
Okay. Any volunteers who would like to read the translation and the purport?
Yeah, Haribol, I can read.
Please.
Translation. Therefore, O mighty armed one whose sense are from their objects is certainly of a steady intelligence. Purport. One can curb the forces of the sense gratification only by the means of Krishna consciousness, or engaging all sense in the transcendental loving service of Lord. As enemies are curbed by a superior force, the senses are similarly being curbed, not by any human, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of Lord. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, is called a sadhaka or a suitable candidate for liberation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for reading, Mahira. That was very nice. Okay. So Krishna is saying, therefore, O mighty armed. So he's addressing to Arjun because Arjun was very powerful and strong. He had very strong arms. So he's saying, O mighty armed, basically encouraging him how he has, not just physical strength of doing things, but also inner strength of being able to control his senses. Now, we had discussed this in the past that Arjun was a very good example of how a yogi, practitioner of spiritual life should be, because he was diligent and focused on his duties. When he was a student, he was excellent student. He was learning everything from Dronacharya till the time he masters it. And he was not distracted or deviated with temptations, because when very, very beautiful damsel um, approached him, Urvashi, for offering to enjoy, Arjuna did not fall into that temptation. So he was um, very much self-controlled. So Krishna is basically pointing that how he, by restraining the senses, one can be of steady intelligence. So Arjuna is emphasizing that point. In the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning that how the best means of keeping the senses under control or restrained is to keep them engaged in positive activity. Like, for example, mind. If we tell mind not to do anything, that is not something which mind will be able to follow. But if you engage mind in things which are constructive, which are desirable, then mind will automatically be able to come out of those things which may be undesirable. Just like a child, a small baby, 1 year old, may start playing with knife, but then the parents may give them some other toy or some doll, or maybe something which is harmless, like a plate or a spoon. Then the child may be able to give the knife, otherwise will hold on to the knife. Similarly, our senses, they need engagement. And what is the best engagement? is to engage in the service of the Lord. When we are engaged in the service of the Lord, then we have engagements which the senses feel satisfied with. It may not necessarily change our lifestyle immediately, but slowly, as we go on, engaging those senses in different activities which are in connection with the Lord, that process is helpful to us. And this process of engaging in spiritual activities is called as sadhana. So we do sadhana, which means various activities, various do's we incorporate in our life. And the practitioner who is doing the sadhana is called as sadhaka. So that sadhaka who is doing the sadhana will be able to get the desired result. And for this, the sadhaka or the practitioner has to follow guidance of a spiritual master. So it is important to take guidance from spiritual master to see how the teachings of Bhagavad Gita can be practically applied in my life. Just like we see that a very famous sports person who may have had all the medals and everything, but even that person needs a coach. A coach has guided that person. So similarly, we in our spiritual journey need those who are more experienced, who can guide us. So this is time tested formula. Krishna, Ram, they all showed by their own example that they also accepted guru to learn from. So we also must follow the process, and those who are more experienced in a certain field can train those who are less experienced. When we go for swimming or music or martial arts, we need somebody who already has that, and we learn from that person. So similarly, we learn spiritual science by spiritual master. So these are few thoughts I can share from here, this shloka. Anybody would like to make any comments? Any points, any comments? Okay, we'll continue to read further. Please repeat after me. 2.69. या निशा सर्वभूतानां
या निशा सर्वभूतानां
तस्यां जागृति संयमी तस्यां
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 जागृति
जागृति
संयमे
संयति
अस्यां जागृति भूतानि
यस्यां
यस्यां
जागृति
जागृति
भूतानि
भूतानि
सा निशा पश्यतो मुने सा
सा
निशा.
निशा
शानि
पश्यतो मुने.
शतोपने.
Okay, who's available to read the translation in puppet here? Any volunteers?
I can read.
Please.
Translation. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self control, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Purport. There are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic men. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling being sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self realization activities undisturbed by material reactions.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Thank you. So this is very important and a nice shloka. So I'll repeat the Sanskrit again. Please hear attentively. या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागृति संयमी Yasyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pashyato mune. So here Krishna is telling Arjun, because Arjun must be thinking now, Krishna has spoken how senses must be controlled and mind must be controlled, regulated, and stay focused on the spiritual path. Now, Arjun or other people who may come across, they may be thinking, Arey, but so many people in the world are doing all sorts of other things. People are making material advancement, um, more promotion, job success, economic development. They are enjoying having nice, lucrative ways of spending their wealth. So much enjoyment is there, and then obviously my senses will actually need all these to enjoy. They want to go here and there. So one may be thinking, but Krishna is saying how to control, but nobody in the world is doing. So why is that? And then Krishna is answering this here. He's saying that there are different people. Some people are transcendentalists and some people are materialists. Materialists have a goal of engaging in material activities and engaging their senses in material enjoyment. Krishna has already explained that even though the senses give us a proposal that, hey, if you engage in this sense gratificatory activity, you will be happy. And when we engage in it, actually, we don't get happiness. So, even though the senses have this proposal, this is actually not giving us the real happiness. It lasts for a few seconds, few minutes, very short time actually, and then we are hankering for more happiness, more happiness. So that is the nature of the living being. The transcendentalists, on the other hand, have understood that, okay, material life has certain duties, responsibilities, and for doing that we may have to engage our senses, and some sense engagement is necessary, and that's appropriate. There is no problem, but that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is above and beyond that, is to focus on our spiritual self, which is the spirit soul. How to make the soul actually get happiness and satisfaction. So Krishna is telling in this shloka that those who are spiritualists, for them, they are active at a different time. Awakening for them is different than those who are materialists. Materialists may be very happy when somebody says, oh, okay, you are going to get a lottery for $100 or $1,000 or $10,000. You'll see a lot of people queuing for that. But if you say, oh, we are going to have reading of Bhagavad Gita today, not many people will be too interested. Why? Because people have more material propensity than spiritual propensity. So Krishna is saying those who are on materialistic and endeavors, they will be asleep to spiritual um opportunities, while those who are focused on spiritual enlightenment and advancement will actually be awakened at that time when spiritual opportunities come. And for engaging the senses in different activities, um, we see that there are parties and clubs, and people may be engaged in intoxication and different other things. So, some of the materialists will be very excited about that. Yes, smoking, drinking, drugs, all these things, they'll be very excited that this will give us happiness. Even though that doesn't last too long, it eventually gives them depression, anxiety, so many psychiatric problems, because they're not getting the happiness. But they are awake when these opportunities come. On the other hand, a materialist, a spiritualist is asleep when these proposals come. So the um, things which make a spiritualist excited are different. A things which make the spiritualist engage his energy, his vital force is different. So that is the point when Krishna is saying, what is night for all beings? All beings means people in the world in general, is the time of awakening for self-controlled. Self-controlled person is awakened. This is also true from the perspective of time of the day, because many times we see those are spiritualists, they wake up earlier in the day. They wake up very early in the morning and they engage in spiritual activities. And the spiritualists are um, gone to bed very early. On the other hand, those who are um, not on the spiritual path, many times they may be having late night parties, late night, stay, and they are not um, awakened in the Brahma Muhurat in the morning time. So this is true from different perspectives. So there's a lot of application for this shloka, but the real application is that the spiritualists are awakened at spiritual opportunities, while materialists, they are awakened at material opportunities, and vice versa. Okay. Any questions, comments, any points anybody would like to bring up? Voice is not audible. Can you repeat?
Can you hear me?
Very, it's not loud enough. Not like normal.
Oh, okay. Now,
Much better.
so my thought was, should we also tend to distinguish between the type of materialists we see in the world? So, for example, there are materialist people who will engage themselves in a very bad activities, or even worst. But on the other hand, some materialist might be, for example, a honest businessman or a honest educator who are who can be classified as materialist, who are still looking forward to build property or buying a car or luxury or having vacation in good places, but then they are being honest and doing their work and are focused, karmic people. So my question is, can we categorize between the type of materialistic ideology that you are going to be engaged yourself in?
Very nice point. Excellent. So, when we talk of spiritualist and materialist, it's not like a line differentiating them. Okay, on the left side are all the spiritualists, and the right side are all materialists. It's actually a spectrum going on, and there are, it's not so much black and white, but so many various shades of gray. And in our life, in ourself also, we can see that sometimes the spiritualist within us becomes very active, and sometimes the materialist within us becomes very active. So this is happening by the modes of material nature. We are under the control of the modes of material nature, and to the what degree which mode is activated, which mode we expose ourselves to, that particular environment uh, gives more exposure to whatever the environment is. Let's say if we expose ourselves more to the mode of goodness, then the mode of goodness within us will get activated. On the other hand, if we expose more to mode of passion or ignorance, those will get activated. So it's not so much in terms of categorizing, it's more of understanding that all these things are happening to all of us, and to the extent I am exposing myself to spiritual environment, I can see myself as following the spiritual path, and to the extent I am not exposing myself to that extent my spiritual journey will be slower. But at the same time, um, it's a gradual process, and we can't anticipate that our habits need to necessarily be changed overnight will be the best strategy for us. Many times, slowly and gradually transforming those activities and adding Krishna to our life is the best thing. Like, for example, you mentioned that somebody may be honest businessmen, they may be engaged in, acquiring their properties and businesses and having, regular life. So how they can add Krishna to their life is important. They can engage in 6 days or 5 days in doing their duties, and then, one day they can dedicate themselves to spiritual activities and go and, serve in the temple, do menial service. Like Krishna, for example, when there was Raj Suya Yagya, uh, Krishna, he chose to be taking care of the shoes of all the people who were coming to the yagya. So he was at the shoe stall taking care of shoes of everybody. So if Krishna is taking care of such menial things, how much we become prominent in the eyes of Krishna when we do menial service like this. So the point is how our nature is matching in a way we can engage in the service of the Lord. You mentioned somebody is businessman engaged in businesses. They can use the returns from the businesses to engage in Krishna's service. They can, fund projects which may be spiritually oriented, which may be helping so many people. So this way, the material and spiritual aspects can actually have more connection. Does it make sense?
It does, Bapuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have some time, Atul,
Yes,
I
please.
also struggle with this a little bit in terms of materialism. I mean, I just bought a new car, a Tesla, just the luxury and the convenience of driving. It opened up more an avenue to focus on Krishna and maybe read or recite a verse because of the full self drive. So I guess the materialistic aspect, if it's in devotion or service to Krishna, has helped me and helped me feel better about my purchases and my consumerism as well. So it's something that I've noticed a little bit more, that if I do make purchases or luxury, or if I go on a hike or travel, but I think of Krishna and as a kind of a service and offering to Krishna, it helps me a little bit more.
Yes.
The other thing is the three gunas, sattva, and if I have also a hard time in terms of determining what sattva is, but intuitively, knowing from right and wrong, I try to lean more that's aligned to Krishna and godliness as more sattvic properties. So when we have a business and a dental office, and we try to do the most sattvic thing by offering more than we receive, and that makes us feel better too. I don't know, in materialistic words.
Excellent. No, I think those are excellent practical points. And thank you for sharing. Actually, when we see the life of great kings who are, great devotees, they were not living in, in a small hut, right? They were not living in caves or in the forests. They were saints and sages who were living in the forests, and they were appropriately doing the right thing. But then there are kings, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, Ambrish Maharaj. There's so many, and they were living in palaces. They were having jewels and golds and all of this, but they were not having this propensity that this is mine. They had the propensity that this belongs to Krishna and I am the caretaker. And because of this propensity, they were not attached to it. Like, for example, a banker or a cashier may be having a lot of cash in front of the person, and they may be dealing with cash. But at the end of the day, they put all the cash in the cabinet or give it to the owner of the company, and then they go. They don't start thinking that cash belongs to me. So, same thing, Esopanishad mentions that all the wealth, all the resources, everything in this world belongs to Krishna or Ishvara. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. So everything belongs to the Lord or Ishwar, and as we are part and parcels of the Lord, and we are his, in simple words, his children, we have, just like a father's property can be used by the child, similarly, we have a right to use the resources of the Lord, but only what is our quota. Our general tendency of the human nature is to take more and more and more and encroach upon the quota of others. Like, for example, the quota of the animals or plants or others. We are actually encroaching the quota. We have, almost eliminated the forest lifestyle or even the aquatics. We have really, really intruded upon their habitat. So that is how, in the last few decades, we are finishing up all the resources which were actually meant to be used appropriately, and that is because of the greed. Sorry about this. So, the point which I'm making is that we must understand that if there are things which we need to engage in, that can be our quota, but our quota depends on our service. How much we can engage 24 hours, how much it can help me engage in the service of the Lord, the devotees, and the world, that will actually determine. And those who are in the mode of goodness, and how do we know that? That is who are sattvic lifestyle, which means our eating habits, our daily routine is in such a way that we are calm, composed, and relaxed to be able to make the right determination. If we are anxious, if we are restless, those are signs of mode of passion. And it's not that we will only have goodness, we will only have passion, we'll only have ignorance. No, all three will be acting on us at different time, at different period, and even at the same time sometimes. And depending upon which environment we have been exposing ourselves to in the long past, it will help us you know um, uh, have that particular mode take predominance and determine how we will deal with that situation. If we are dull, lazy, depressed, that is more in the mode of ignorance. And as I said, all three are acting on everybody. It's just that whom we want to nurture and groom and encourage, that is the one which will eventually become stronger in us. So, those who are trying to associate with people who are in the mode of goodness will actually incorporate those qualities which are in the mode of goodness. And mode of goodness or sattva guna is easier when we are in sattva guna, it is easier to actually practice bhakti, devotion, or the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So these are few thoughts I can share based upon what you said, Mayank. Do you want to make any further comments on this?
Oh, I know. I appreciate the analogy. It makes me understand a more comprehensive approach. So, especially with the kings and the merchants and you, but it's like, thank you. I just wanted to thank you.
Thanks so much for adding that. Okay. Anybody would like to make any comments? Moshimi, would you like to make any further comment on this?
No, actually, I would thank you for that. And yeah, although many thoughts comes up, for example, um, sometimes people, I mean, there can be a crafty businessman too who will cheat people and will be as well as praying and worshiping, believing in God, going to the temple and thinking like, oh, God, help me in my craftiness. And so I was just thinking like, there are so many prisms and so many angles to your thought process and attitude and how you exercise spirituality. So some people might think like, oh, okay, um, I want to prosper, but I am prospering through utilizing some backdoor. But at the same time, I will go to my temple or my faith institution, maybe my church or wherever, and I'll confess and I will ask for forgiveness, and then everything will go away. So it's just those, mentalities and the mindsets that needs to be purified, I think, and how you practice your spirituality. So and as well as your actions.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, that's one important point, that it's not just that we can just categorize into different categories, because it is like every moment one has to make a decision of what path I will be choosing. Just like, in the past, the videos used to come as a reels, like a film, and it was like, if you see the negatives of that, it will move the negative so fast that it used to look like it's a moving thing going on, right? Or when we were small, they would have certain books, um, and those books, if you just make them uh, pages go too fast, it looked as if some video is going on where person is moving hand, but it's just different images, and every image is slightly different, and um, you can actually see how things are happening. Similarly, in everyday life, in every moment of our life, we have to make decision, and based upon what decisions we are making, it will determine what reaction we will be getting, which we call karma, karmic reaction.
Mhm.
So, like you said, some businessmen may be doing some positive things, but some negative things. It's not that the negative and positive will get cancelled.
Mhm.
He will get, or she will get, the response for the negative which they did and the positive which they did. And to the extent it was negative, the reactions will be similarly very severe. Similarly, if it was very positive, they'll get positive, uh, response. So karmic reactions actually are going on all the time, and this is how um, Bhagavad Gita's teachings help us in understanding that we are the makers of our own destiny. It is not that something forced to us has made this destiny. No, this is based upon what choices I have made in the past. And now, what choices I make right now will determine my future in the coming days or years. So it gives the um, understanding that we are having it in our hands, and depending how much we understand this and we develop our consciousness appropriate, to that extent we can um, make our future better. Now this is for regular people, karma. For devotees, it's a little bit different. For devotees, as Krishna will be explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, the karma chain can be broken and one can come out. But that doesn't happen just by going to the temple or going to church and confessing. That mentality is still in the level where you'll get karmic reactions. It happens only when you're purified. Purified means your propensity of selfish gain has gone from within the heart, and your tendency is selfless service, humility, devotion, and all the positive qualities have manifested in us. So, this is how bhakti brings all the positive qualities in us first, and then all the negative karma or reaction which one may have to face, that actually vanquishes. So we see the life of great saints like Prahlad. Prahlad was living in a place where it was all demons. How many of you have watched this new movie, Narsimha Avatar? Anybody here who has watched? It became very famous. We were able to go.
Yes, I have seen.
Okay. And anybody else? We were able to go to our local hall in the US, and they had played. It was very nice. Kids enjoyed it. We also enjoyed it very much. And we saw that how beautifully they have taken the correct story from the scriptures and not added or contaminated it with some vague ideas, which many times we see mirch masala people put in that and spoil the storyline. But this is very much in accordance with how the scriptures tell us. So I will encourage you you all to get hold of this and try to watch it in a hall or whatever other means you can get the movie. But my point was that Prahlad was in the middle of an environment where they were all, demoniac people. Um, they were not having the similar mindset. But because Prahlad was already purified and above all, he was not getting karmic reactions. He was not even getting affected to the extent. He obviously had to go through tortures, but those tortures were actually not affecting Prahlad the way they would affect ordinary souls, because Prahlad had transcended that phase. He had already gone to the advanced phase where he was able to um, stay unaffected. So that can happen to any of us. In fact, Krishna is giving the opportunity to all of us to actually go to that highest level of spiritual realization. Okay, so these are few thoughts I can share. Anybody else would like to make any points? Okay, we have 3 shlokas from this chapter now. 70, 71, 72, and then this chapter will be over. So this is a very nice shloka. I will only read this shloka. Okay, let's see if we can complete it or not. We don't have that much time, but we'll see. Please repeat after me the Sanskrit. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham.
Apuryamanam achalam pratishtham
Samudramapa pravishanti advat.
samudramapa pravishanti yadvat
Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve.
yadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Sashantimapnoti na kama kami.
sasantimapnoti na kamakami.
Okay. Who would like to read the translation purport?
I can read it.
Please.
A person who is not distracted by the incessant flow of desires that enters like rivers into the ocean. Sorry, into the ocean, which is ever being filled, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
Let me just make one clarification here. So Krishna is now telling Arjuna that people will keep getting desires. New and new desires keep popping up. And he's comparing it with the ocean. The ocean also keeps getting the flow of rivers. The rivers keep flowing, water keeps going in the ocean. Now, as water keeps going in the ocean, we don't see ocean level has now increased so much. Even though many huge amount of gallons and tons of water is coming every minute to the ocean. from all the different rivers all over the world. But the ocean is huge, it's big, and its level almost stays more or less in the same range. So, Krishna is saying, just like the oceans stay steady, similarly, a person who's spiritually advanced stay steady when all the desires keep coming in constantly. The desires keep coming in one after the other. Ordinary person, they are not steady. When desire comes, they want to go and fulfill the desire. They feel like, oh, I'm getting an urge to enjoy this. Let me go and have it. Let me just take it. Let me just do it. So, this is how there is a difference between a materialist and a spiritualist. A spiritualist is able to practice this shloka, and we may not be perfect at it, but we are focusing on getting better at it. Mayank, you want to continue the purport and then we'll discuss more.
Sure, I can. Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities, and he is not even slightly disturbed by the desires for sense gratification. That is proof of a Krishna conscious man, one who has lost all his inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present, because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving loving service of the Lord. He can remain steady, like the ocean, and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and the yogis who are after mystic powers are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace.
Thank you so much for reading. Okay, so based on the reading, Mayank, do you want to share some points?
You summarized really well in terms of the ocean, how the volume remains the same. There's like my uncle used to say, there can be an atomic bomb that blows up in the backyard, but you're studying in medicine and just keep your head down and study. So I think similarly, if your mind is steer in Krishna, like Arjun, when his DA, like his focus is in Krishna, and your spirit, your body, everything resonates in Krishna, then things can move and the world can change, and you can be different yogs like Kal Yoga or Kal Yuga or wherever, but really you're steady, and that's where you find full peace.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So, one important point here is that sometimes we think, oh, great personalities, great sages, or great devotees, um, they may not be even getting desires, right? Like, I'm getting a desire to enjoy in a particular manner, but those people, they will not be even getting that desire. But that's not what this shloka says. The shloka says that the incessant flow of desires is always there. So, spiritualists may be getting more spiritual desires, but material desires also will flow in. But the art or the technique or the skill of not acting on the desire is what the spiritualists are trained to do. They are trained, they have trained themselves not to start acting on the desires. So the desire may come, and then we can, the best way of saying the mind or dealing with the mind is not to say no, but to say, okay, not right now. So we don't act on the desire right away. We just take a pause. And that way, we give ourselves enough time to actually evaluate whether the desire will actually have Krishna conscious benefit, or whether it is actually going to take us and distract us away from Krishna. Because if we are able to stay focused and stay God conscious and Krishna conscious, then the desire which is coming and saying that this will help us is something which may be beneficial. But if it is not, then it could be a trap. That okay, we are saying in the name of Krishna, but actually we are going to go away from Krishna if we were to uh, act on such a desire. So some desires can be like this. Some desires may be non-devotional, and some desires may be anti-devotional. And all these different desires we have to evaluate. And if we are acting on different desires, then it can be problem. Now Prabhupada here is expressing in English one of the shlokas. So many times Prabhupada writes in English, but actually he is quoting shlokas even in that. So there is a shloka which says, भुक्ति मुक्ति सिद्धि कामी सकले अशांत कृष्ण भक्त निष्काम तथा एव shanta. So a devotee of the Lord is peaceful because he does not get agitated by incessant desires which are coming. And um, there are yogis and mystics who want to get more and more mystical powers. And then there are um, those who want better economic development and better job. They want better health, they want all these other materialistic things. Those are called as fruitive workers or karmis. Fruitive workers or karmis, they want better material life. Salvationists, they feel okay, material life is not very good, mystic yoga not very good, I want to merge in Brahman and become God. And even those are actually not the best because they have the desire to merge. While a devotee of the Lord, he just want to please the Lord. So his desire is not selfish for himself, but excuse me, but is selfless for the service of the Lord. So because he has selfless desire, he is actually satisfied. He is not ashanta. He is very shanta. And those are the examples. There are so many stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the stories are giving the descriptions of the life of these great saints and sages who may have been kings, or they may have been uh, sannyasis or brahmacharis or simple householders, but all the different people, how they have actually implemented these principles given in Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is the book of principles. Srimad Bhagavatam has stories how those principles are applied. So very important to read both. Srimad Bhagavatam is also an encyclopedia where you will find encyclopedia of Vedic knowledge, where you will find mention of so many different aspects of science, including even cosmology, or including stories, including different um, other aspects of spiritual science and Vedic science. So we can see that a spiritualist and materialist is a state of consciousness of our mind, and if we train ourselves to be acting like this, incessant flows of desires will come, but ocean is steady. Similarly, we have to train ourselves to be steady, be engaged, engage our senses in service of the Lord. That way we can stay steady when these incessant flow of desire comes, and then we get a chance to evaluate whether these desires could be devotional, and then we can execute them. If they are non-devotional, then we may not necessarily engage in them, and if they are anti-devotional, then we totally avoid those. That can be helpful for us. So these are few thoughts I can share from the shloka. Anybody else would like to make any points from this?
If I may quickly, so maybe a practical step is lately I've noticed, like if I'm on YouTube and I'm scrolling, I catch myself that, hey, what am I doing? The timer helps too, the 5 minute timer, but the scrolling catches me, and as a kind of habit and addiction, the awareness kind of breaks the cycle, but then also kind of focusing my energy and my thoughts to anchoring myself, maybe the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, and then recalibrating myself to say, I think what you said about not now, this can go later, and then later and later, if I keep pushing it back, maybe I can free myself of this sort of habit I have with whether it's Instagram or YouTube or Donald Trump or whatever's in the news and something going on, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely there are so many distractions, and it's a good testing ground for all of us, because we know our weaknesses best, and how we can use our intelligence to get us out of it is really helpful. Sometimes we can use our intelligence to get more distracted and get worse, which means that our intelligence needs to get purified. But you very rightly said. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Any other points anybody would like to bring up? All right. In that case, we'll end for today. Thank you very much. Granth Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you very much, everyone, for
Thank you.
joining.